romantic comedy
God.
where like people are climbing through windows to say what's up.
I don't know how he got there, and then like just the innocence and the matter of fact of like, wait, why is someone in your house you don't know?
Well, how else would I get to know him?
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
We've sent Gibbe off now. He's off after
He's
that.
off.
He can't handle it.
When is AB's 2:15? Is that what we're at, Gibby? 2:15. All right. Anytime after. All right, very good. So we'll have our general manager, Andrew Barry. One thing that I'm always surprised about over here is that I suppose maybe just because
Oh, boy.
because it's such a, so much of us are in the business. But I always think that I'm always surprised there's not more pop-up shops for some NFL gear and stuff. Like they're usually, remember that Super Bowl
That
store
one right
that we
across the
crushed?
street
It
was
was like
amazing.
hoodies for $4. Remember that?
My dad finally got to collect because he hadn't been since COVID. He didn't come in, in that year. So this time when he made his trip, he finally got to collect. Remember I got him the Niners actual media day outfit jacket, which
that's
when you
right.
think of my dad in a white satin sheen
It's perfect.
long coat with a nice Niners logo and the Super Bowl.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was pretty. He said he wears it to walk around the lake, which I feel like would be a great sight.
I'd like to see him.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Going through that. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot for that. It's also interesting in that the Big Ten's women's basketball tournament is here this week, and then the men are here next week. So that this is going to be a busy downtown here over the course of the next couple of weeks.
They won't be getting sushi.
No, they won't. Not anywhere. At least where we were going, it won't be. People always ask me about Indy, and I always rave about the downtown. I would prefer an Airwolf style transport, where I straight up from my house all the way here and then drop me off like paratroop out.
Great.
Sold. I'd love it because once I get here, I love it. It's the drive that's the issue. But the one thing I always say about Indy is it's great, but I don't know what it's like on a May Tuesday.
Without a convention
Without
or
a convention
an
or
event.
a big deal. Every
Yeah.
time I'm here, it's the Super Bowl, Big Ten basketball tournament. I have no idea what this place is like on a Tuesday, a random Tuesday.
I agree. I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
It would
Is
be one of
it
those,
just empty?
It would be
It's
one of
gone.
those things. Like one of the things that Kayla likes is if the sweet Miss K could have a superpower, her
It would be something
superpower
so wonderfully innocent.
her superpower would be, for example, we were in Charleston, very historic town.
Sure.
She wants to be able to like just put her hand on the wall and then like go to like the heyday. So go jump right back in the 1700s
Right back.
and like see what was actually happening or in that
my
market
God.
or like
Yeah,
in a historic
I love
building.
it. I love it.
Like she wanted to go back to the Don Cesar when it was at its heyday in like the early 1900s.
Sure.
So she just wants to see things as they were
In their prime.
In their prime. Yeah.
Did you say, well, honey, you wake up to that every morning?
Well, I did point out that she gets to just
It's right there.
put her hand on my shoulder and
In the prime.
there it is. Yeah.
In the
so
flesh, baby. It's
yeah.
all there.
She didn't think that was as great of a
No,
comment
probably
as
not.
I did.
Have
But
you started Black Sails yet, by the way?
No, but I'm going to love it.
I know you're going to
okay,
love
hold
it.
on.
Like,
We're-
because the reason I say that is because that Charleston's involved.
Oh,
Because that
that might
part
be a
is-
selling point. That
Yeah.
might help.
I mean, it's not prominent, but it's there.
It's there. Pirates,
yeah.
sure.
Pirates, sure.
We four episodes into this mini season of Ozark,
Yeah.
I have never watched a show, and I love Ozark, that the tension while you're watching it is more palpable. And in this season, at the point that we're at in particular, where you can just feel the walls closing in. Like that we are running.
Options are starting to peel away.
We are running out of the ability to continually evade total destruction. It feels that way anyway. It's just, it is a tense show.
That's one that I've said this. It really should be more spread out, because I think when they give you the ability to binge like that, I think it loses its juice, because you don't get a week to talk
Look at
about it.
that
Like you just
cliffhanger,
said,
yes.
you just said the fourth episode. I watched Ozark. I want to say pretty close after it dropped over the course. If there's 7 episodes, we probably watched an episode a night over 10 days. Probably skipped a couple because of sports or whatever. So like I watched it a month ago, and I don't even know I can't tell you what happened, because it was
Well, we're
going to
be lined up though for this one, and let's commit, you and I,
Sure.
to doing it once a week.
Well, perfect. Or at least, yeah, that's fine. I can do that easy. That's just no problem at all.
There it is.
The NFL may have to pay players to participate in the NFL Combine. I do think that this is something that is about to be a real issue. And I think one thing that I don't necessarily know the answer to it, but I know that there are at least two NFL teams for sure where none of the coaching staff is coming over here.
That's
It
right.
sounds like the Jets aren't coming either. So the Niners, the Rams, and the Jets. Sounds like Salah's not coming. So that's three organizations that aren't coming over here at all from a coaching staff standpoint. Derek Stingley Jr., the defensive back out of LSU, is not participating over here. He's not coming to the combine at all. Neither is Matt Corral, the quarterback out of Ole Miss. I remember he was hurt, but he could still come over here and do the interviews and do that type of stuff.
Sure.
But he's not. And I think for the higher-end guys, I've heard rumors that he should not be named is not going to do much here either. That it's going to be conversations and medicals, and that's it. But that he's going to do that pro day back in Columbus with C.J. Stroud thrown to him as verse to hear.
Yeah, and there's certainly a reason, that makes sense for that to be the way that a lot of these guys operate. Now, I think that for the elite guys, they can kind of do what they want. They have all the power here, right?
They do.
The teams want them. Now, it's for the guys that are trying to go from being an undrafted free agent to getting into the sixth, seventh round. The combine's massively important for guys that are trying to go from the fifth round to the third or up to to the second round. Day 3 guy going to day 2. That's what the combine is all about. Those guys being able to separate themselves and then present themselves very well in front of people. But we've seen this for a while where stars, a lot of times the quarterbacks don't throw. Like you got a star quarterback, they're going to throw at their pro day, and that's going to be it. So it's nothing new. Paying them to participate, you're not going to. I don't see a way. When you would be able to pay them enough that it would change anybody who's at that level's mind about participating in the combine. What are you going to pay them?
It's the same thing with it's the same thing they're going to run into with the college bowls, right?
Of course.
People are saying, well, how let's take Kenny Pickett, the kid from Pitt. So he was they were playing in the Peach Bowl, which is in the old days a BCS bowl. It's a big bowl. And he chose not to play in it because what's the juice for him? Meantime, Matt Corral, his team at Ole Miss, and by the way, it's just as rare for Pitt to play in the Peach Bowl it was for Ole Miss to play in the Sugar Bowl. So Ole Miss playing in the Sugar Bowl. Corral says, I want to play. This is an incredible opportunity for me. Pickett's backup gets hurt on the second series. Corral gets hurt in the first half of these games. So people would then all of a sudden it led to, okay, well, we're going to pay these guys, X amount of dollars to be to go to these things. And the reality is, what number is it? $1 million? Like is
for
that,
a game
for
to
a
play in a bowl game?
To play in a bowl game, is that
no
worth it? What's the number? Is it $200,000? That's the real key to it.
You have to remember these guys. Two things. Number one, you're looking at coming into the NFL as a first-round pick with significant guaranteed money. Okay.
Yep.
Number two, with NIL money, they don't that. $1 million, and they're not going to pay a guy $1 million to play in a bowl game. There's just no way.
No.
There's no chance they're going to pay him $1 million to participate in the combine. Those guys are going to have that money from NIL where they are not. Yes, and $1 million. Nobody's going to thumb their nose at $1 million ever.
Right.
But the risk of potentially getting hurt and falling into the second round outweighs whatever quick cash compensation they could get for participating in whether it be a bowl game or whether it be in the combine.
Do you think that this event is ready for a change of scenery just from the standpoint, or I like it here. The ease of getting here is easy. The ease of being around downtown here is so simple. It's hard for me to imagine it not being here. Like Los Angeles is a much tougher ask. Vegas would be pretty straightforward. That would be pretty easy. But then you would get all the temptation that comes in Vegas, and I don't know if the NFL wants that.
Maybe that's a better way to do the IQ test, which is what a lot of the things are at the combine, right?
Yeah. That would test everything, wouldn't it?
It most certainly would. Look, does it need a change of venue? From what standpoint? Think of how much
Well, I
bigger.
just wonder because it does feel like, that would have been unheard of 5 or 6 years ago that 3 coaching staffs wouldn't be here.
But do you think it's because it's an Indy?
No. I just think that it's kind of the process has played itself out.
Agreed.
And sometimes do you want to shake up something in a hopes that it will, if you're Kyle, is it more fun to go to Vegas for a week?
Listen, if you're the NFL,
not that he needs to do it on scholarship, but you get the point.
If you're the NFL, and you have what has become a tentpole event, where you could now shop it because of the influx of money that it brings to a given city, and now you have people bidding for the right to have the combine, of course it makes better business sense. This has become a TV event. But they used to, as you know, the workouts used to happen during the day.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
And then everybody would be out at night. Now it's a prime time for TV event. And so when it's for TV, does it matter as much where it is? Maybe. Maybe you have cooler things if you're showing things in Vegas and you get, the B-roll shots that you're going to have in and out of breaks and all of those things. The scene setters, are they more dynamic in those places? Do that feel like a bigger deal to not be in Indianapolis? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
One of the reasons they have it here are the medical facilities and the ease of getting everybody in here for the medical testing, which anybody would tell you is probably, even though it's not the televised part or the spoken about part of the combine, probably the most valuable part of the combine for every team. And so while the glitz and the glam might be better in Vegas or in LA or somewhere else, are the facilities in terms of what is required from a medical standpoint, are you able to do it there? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that it needs a change of scenery. I think what they did is built an event that probably shouldn't be
On
a
TV.
monstrous television property
Right.
and turned it into that. And so that brings with it, I feel like something's happening to our backdrop here. There's some
No, I think we're just setting up.
a lot of excitement.
I think you're safe.
Okay, all right. And so, right, has what they've turned the combine into outgrown Indy?
Yep.
I think that's a fair question. It reminds me of, I had a buddy, Mark DeServi, his dad, Big Lou. They collected fish.
Okay.
I think one of the fish they had was a thing called an arowana,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. Now, an arowana will get as big as the tank that you give it.
Oh, boy.
So if you have it in this tank, it's going to be yay size. You buy it a bigger tank,
Eat.
guess what? It gets bigger. Buy it a bigger tank than that, it gets bigger. And I feel like that's what's happened with the combine, right?
Yeah.
And so you'd say, we have this thing here that wants to outgrow this place. But as I said, behind the scenes, that's the most important stuff. It also, I don't think you would get, I would say this, from our standpoint, let's just go from us. You're not going to get the close proximity, ease of running into everybody of importance in the league and the conversations you have by going to the JW Marriott bar, going to Prime, 47, going to the 3 or 4 spots where everybody in the league is at night at the Combine.
Yep.
You wouldn't have that in LA.
You surely would not have that in Vegas.
You would not have that in Vegas. It's all spread
behind
out.
closed doors, spread out. Yeah, you would not have the league congregating. Speaking of that, some interesting stuff on the quarterbacks. You saw the stuff from Bruce Arians about Tom Brady. Some interesting stuff from Cliff Kingsbury on Kyler. Some interesting stuff in terms of some of the people around the league on Mitch Trubisky as well. Dan Orlovsky with a really strong statement on Mitch Trubisky. We will get to all of that.
Oh, what
coming
a tease!
up
Look at you got
at
me.
2
I'm
o'clock.
hooked.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Wow. Nope. Bad business. Switzerland pick the side?
Yo.
Hello?
Nick, can you hear us? Yep.
Hello?
Yep. Well, the weather outside still a little chilly. A nice hot bath or shower would feel amazing, and you can transform that bathroom into a custom bath that'll feel like a spa. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler with expert factory-trained installers. They have the largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. You can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Do it in about a day. Acrylic tubs that insulate, keep the heat in, tub-to-shower conversions, and superior products with expert installers. Give them a call now for $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. The number there is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. Tell them Beau sent you, 216-220-8399. $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel, and again, they'll get it done in about a day. So here in the 1 o'clock hour, we started to get coaches at the podium. So among the things that is pretty remarkable, I saw this tweet from Seth Wickersham, who wrote the book about the Patriots and Belichick and all of that, and he goes, fitting that at the Combine, a 44-year-old quarterback is the topic of conversation. And this comes, of course, because Bruce Arians is speaking right now and is very, very direct in terms of what it would take to acquire Tom Brady, so much as to say that it would be bad business. Would you trade Tom Brady? Would you consider trading him? Bad business. Do you have the quote up, by the way, of that?
Yeah, exactly. He said, would you be open to that? He said, no, bad business. And then somebody said, well, what if they made an offer that was worth your while? He said it would 5 ones. That's what he said, 5 ones.
Well, yeah, there you go. So it's something that is certainly out there. It's something that has been discussed a lot. There certainly is a feeling kind of around the league that, that not only would Brady play again, but it would, that it would be in San Francisco.
Yes.
is kind of what everybody's kind of thinking could happen at this point. But let's do remember, I had forgotten that he was unable to get out of Tampa Bay without them acquiescing.
Yes,
I can't imagine
for one more year.
Right. I just can't imagine the Bucs would
Stop
prevent him from doing
won him
it.
a Super
He
Bowl.
won him a Super Bowl.
No way.
Good grief.
Yes. No, I agree with you. And
it seems like posturing.
Yeah, bad. I think it does seem like posturing, the bad business part of it. One of the San Francisco 49ers beat writers, Matt Barrows, wrote back, well, what about 4 number 1s in Garoppolo, Bruce?
So there you go on that front. Also, Cliff Kingsbury speaking, and remember this is a couple of years ago here at the Combine when it became abundantly clear in about a day that Kyler Murray was going to go number 1 overall, even though they had just selected Josh Rosen. Kingsbury saying at the podium that he speaks with Kyler regularly, though he has not spoken to him constantly, I think was the word, constantly spoken to him, but that he has not spoken to him since yesterday when Kyler Murray's agent put out that thing was like War and Peace. The amount of words in that. Like, who's reading that, pal?
Okay, first of all,
look at that thing.
Not
the
me
font,
in its entirety, but the font is just
font
outrageous.
Is crazy. What do you think what size is that? Is that like a 10-point?
Yeah, I might even say it
8?
might be an 8. I mean, it starts. Kyler wants to be direct with loyal Arizona Cardinal fans and the great community of the Valley in stating his 2 very important goals and objectives. 1, he absolutely wants to be your long-term starting quarterback. 2, he desperately wants to win the Super Bowl. Achieving both goals will take incredible commitment from himself and the entire organization. Then it goes, Kyler wants to be direct with loyal Arizona. Okay, we live in 2022.
That's right.
If Kyler Murray wanted to be direct with Arizona Cardinals fans, he could have recorded a video on his phone, put it on his social media channels, and delivered it directly to those fans.
Let me just see. As you're talking, I'm just curious what his what is Kyler Murray's? Okay, 1.3 million.
Yep.
1.3 million Instagram followers
who directly follow him, and he scrubbed that.
Him.
And Cliff Kingsbury is being asked about that, him scrubbing it, and he said I think everybody has some of that going on, and it's part of their expression. Says he is highly motivated to be a much better player going in next year. But then what you get here is looking ahead. Kyler believes that in order to consistently compete for a championship and deliver the Valley their first Super Bowl in 33 years, there needs to be long-term stability for both the organization and himself. Basically goes through all the stuff that he wants to get paid, and then just a separate, so there are a couple of long paragraphs, then a separate, all bold. Actions speak much louder than words in this volatile business. Then the next paragraph. It is now simply up to the Cardinals to decide if they prioritize their rapidly improving 24-year-old, already two-time Pro Bowl quarterback who led the organization from 3 wins before his arrival to 11 wins and their first playoff appearance in 5 years, or rather, if they choose to financially prioritize committing to other areas and continuing to merely talk about addressing Kyler's long-term future as their quarterback. Unfortunately,
Jeez,
every
it's so
player, coach,
contentious.
and executive in the NFL knows or should know that words and hypothetical contractual promises are regularly dismissed as fleeting in this business. Back to full-on bold. Kyler remains hopeful that the organization chooses to commit so that he can continue leading the Cardinals to further success and value for many years to come. I mean, this is...
It's something else.
It feels without precedent to me. It feels...
Yeah, I mean, let's just
wild.
just so people understand what's going on here. For example, Lamar Jackson has not done a big extension. He's won an MVP.
Yeah.
Like, he has not done the big extension yet. Baker hasn't done the big extension yet. And even the guys who have gotten it, Allen, Mahomes, others, they didn't demand it.
Not like this.
Not like that. Not like that. So very, very interesting. Andrew Barry going to be headed to the podium here momentarily. Take a quick time out, and then we'll be back with that. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, buddy. I'd be ready. We saw AB walking by about 2 or 3 minutes ago.
Did he give you a nice wave?
He went. Yep. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated company. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Can you tell the people what Chris Ballard, the general manager of the Indianapolis Colts, just said at the podium regard to Carson Wentz?
Yeah, and so a lot of the talk here at this combine is Carson Wentz kind of a worst kept secret, right? In the sense that he is not going to be, it sounds like anyway, not going to be the quarterback for them going forward. And he said, first of all, he was asked directly, will Carson Wentz be part of the organization? Said, don't have an answer for you. Still working through it. Said he met with Wentz today for an hour. Said the discussion was good. Emphasized conversation about his future is ongoing. Acknowledged some of the criticism of his quarterback, and this is what it said when he was asked about it. Most of it is pretty fair. It'll be interesting to see how he grows from this. I think he will.
Wow.
Quite frankly, I like that candor.
I do too.
I kind of like that candor. You're not used to it.
No, that's pretty straightforward and direct in terms of where you sit with your quarterback, to say the least, from the Colts GM. So that, if these things, and there was just something from Russell Wilson I just saw here in the last couple of minutes that right now I'm a Seahawk and I love it, was the quote from Russell Wilson.
Right now?
Yeah.
Why would you say right now?
Well, you know him.
Well, right, but I'm saying that's like,
yeah,
Seattle's the place where I'm at right now, and I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, and we're waiting on Rodgers. Rodgers is supposed to be on McAfee today, and so that's kind of like the last thing that you're waiting on a little bit is just.
See, right now was always a weird thing. I'll give you another right now comment that came out. The new general manager of the Giants. Here's his quote on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is our starting quarterback right now.
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
I also heard that new general manager of the Giants say today that they would be open, that he's open to everything.
They're trading everybody.
They're trading everybody. Everybody's on the table. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think that's what makes what you'll hear from Andrew Berry here relatively soon pretty interesting, because AB is not. He's not these guys.
We're not going to get that.
You're not getting that. So you're going to have to read between the lines a little bit. He is not. He's going to give you nothing from an.
He's not even going to give you lines.
No, he won't. Yeah, you're right. He's not. He's not going to give you lines. It's going to be. There's not going to be a whole lot there to glean. It's honestly more interesting, the questions, than especially from outside of our market. Nothing against the people in our market, but just people outside of our market, how they perceive the situation. It's more interesting than just because it's different.
For sure. And maybe I'll be wrong, but most of these press conferences with Andrew Berry, because he's very calculating and he doesn't want to share anything. He feels that there must be a competitive advantage to keeping everything close to the vest and not allowing people to know what our plan is or what we're really thinking. And frankly, when you've been able to execute your plan to the level that he has, you would say that in 2 years he's done it perfectly, that is, it is working for him. And so I kind of liken it to the great scene in Christmas Story where he gets the decoder and it ends up being an ad for Ovaltine. Like, that's what you're going to You can have AB's decoder. You're still probably not going to get a whole lot out of this, because that's what it's going to be. You're going to hear him, I'll be curious if what you're paying attention to is, has anything changed from the last time that he talked?
Yep.
Will he give any updates on the things that we talked about? Clowney, Njoku, Denzel Ward contract extension, Jarvis Landry. Will he update Baker Mayfield in his recovery? Will he reiterate that Baker Mayfield is our quarterback without using a word like right now? Will he stay consistent with those things? So that's fine. And you know what? The way that he's been able to formulate his plan, along with Kevin Stefanski and Paul DePodesta and his great team, Glenn Cook, Sags, all the guys over there. Now Kwesi, who is with us, now the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, who's talking, I think, as we speak. He's going to be able to, keep that plan formulated and go out and do his best to execute it again. Maybe we will learn something. Maybe that'd be fun. I'd love to hear how the Conklin thing came about. Is there more of that in the offing? That's something that he might feel more comfortable talking about, and he might get an actual answer on. And if they don't ask that, and even if they did, we'll, when we get a chance to talk to him, we'll talk about those types of things. But, those are kind of the decisions. Defensive line, receiver, passing game in general, chief, and here he is. the general manager of Cleveland Browns, Andrew Berry.
Time with many of the draft prospects who are on our board. The combine is a marker because our scouts on the college side have spent the last several months pouring in a lot of time, energy, and thought into a number of the individuals that are coming to Indianapolis to perform. So we're looking forward to get to know these guys in more detail. More broadly, as we look through the next couple of weeks, it's always exciting for us. We think that we have a number of good young players on the roster currently, but the next several weeks, really the next several months, will give us the opportunity to add to our talent base. And really, this is kind of the first step in the off season to kind of map our planning with players that may be available. So with that, let me open up to any questions that you guys have. Yeah, no, quite honestly, we really go into, and a number of the local beat writers here have heard me say this before, we really go into each offseason with the thought process of as if we had an expansion team. So we really look at every possibility, every player opportunity, try and match it to our resources, costs, and really try and be as opportunistic as possible to upgrade the entire talent base.
Andrew, what has been the extent of interaction with Mayfield for you and the coaches, and where is he in his rehab?
Baker's doing well in his rehab. I think you guys know how hard he works. He's worked his tail off since the surgery. He's right on track. I talked to him right after the surgery. He was a little bit groggy. It's the first time he's ever had surgery in his entire career, but he's worked really hard, and we feel good about his progress.
Has there been more interaction than that first time?
I'm sorry?
Has there been more interaction?
Yeah, we've interacted with Baker as is typical with any player during the offseason. We've interacted with him multiple times throughout since the end of the season, and that's not too different than several players on our roster.
Andrew, what are the next steps for you guys as far as put it for what are the next steps?
Yeah, Jarvis, he's been a productive player for us for the past 4 years, a big part of helping us turn the tide and everything like that. The next couple of weeks are big for us in terms of assessing the entirety of the roster. But Jarvis has been a key veteran for us, a key producer, and we're really grateful for all that.
Do you still see him as a member of this team next season?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into any of our specific planning or anything along those lines, but Jarvis has been a key veteran for us for a number of years.
Do you expect Clowney to enter free agency, or do you know him signed before that?
I know I've gotten asked this question, every year. Any of our players that are no longer under contract going into the next league year, there is a little bit of uncertainty. That's just the reality of it, right? They've gotten to the end of their deals. They, really have the right to test the market, so to speak. In any given offseason, like there are a number of guys where you like to bring them all back. It doesn't always work out that way, but we're hopeful to assemble the best team possible in the next few weeks. I would evaluate it as incomplete, quite candidly. I think it's always premature to evaluate a draft class after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. We really try and look at it as maybe a 3-year time horizon to see how these players actually develop once they get to what we say at maturity. Certainly we saw some promising things from our rookie class, but the reality of it is all of them have things that they can improve upon and that they need to build upon going into next year. Yeah, it's always good to see Buckeyes playing at a high level and producing well, right? Those guys are very talented prospects, and we obviously have a lot of pride with our college out in Columbus. But look, there are a number of talented players across all positions, and we're looking forward to getting to know them a little bit better over the next several days. Yeah, Jack's doing well. He's right on schedule, if not a little bit ahead of schedule. He's working hard. We see him at the facility every day, and we'll take it day by day and week by week. But we're optimistic that he's going to make a strong return for us, Scott.
Andrew, this is the first time in a long time the Browns have had front office
I think I think continuity is always a good thing because it's probably no different than a marriage where with each passing year or in some cases each passing decade, you just have a little bit more familiarity, and that's not too different as you try and marry your front office with the coaching staff. As we go through some of the different significant points throughout the off season where you just kind of know what to expect, how to work together, how to solve problems. And ultimately, you know how to execute together, upon a plan in season or, during the off season. So that level of comfort, that level of familiarity is certainly a plus and a bonus for us. And we're looking forward to entering our third off season cycle together.
Adrian, what are the best practices when you look at personnel, lining, coaching staff, having this conversation when there are disagreements on that specific player? What have you learned over the course of your career? What are you trying to implement to make sure that it's something?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think number one, just zooming out, it really is just about problem solving, and ultimately you just try and get the best perspectives, really in the room or at the table to really solve the problem that you're trying to attack. Whether it's roster or unrelated to roster, it's really not too much more difficult than that, but. I think the execution of it is making sure that you are bringing the right and proper perspectives to the table, and then ultimately listening and weighing them the right way, depending on the problem that you're trying to solve. I didn't quite hear you. Yeah, no, so I think I will say certainly for us, and particularly to what I would call the spring scouting process, Zoom has really kind of cut down on some of the things that we would have done in person or used or tried to do via travel, and that cuts down on both time and money and makes you more efficient. That's something that we have incorporated into our process of the past 2 years, and we'll continue to do this off season. It allows us to get a little bit more bang for our buck. Aditi, I think, number one, that's probably a better question for Baker. Just knowing Baker, I think he's pretty focused on the task at hand. I think, one of the realities of professional sports is you have a number of guys across the league who, may play with 1 year left on their deal. So it's not like, that's an exception for any individual player. And I think that can impact, different players differently, quite frankly. But that being said, the guys in our building that have been in that situation have typically handled those circumstances well, because at the end of the day, you only have so little time. You really don't have a lot of time to think about that. Certainly in season, your focus really has to be on working and preparing so that ultimately you can perform on the field as well as possible. And when that happens, and you're a good citizen off the field, that stuff takes care of itself.
Andrew, you're big on creating roster competition for all positions. Do you intend to do that quarterback this year?
Yeah, probably a little bit, Tony, to my response a few minutes ago. We really do look at it like it's an expansion team, and if we have opportunities, to match resources with talent, we do want to continue to add talent to the roster. That applies to every position.
Andrew, when you look back at Baker as a prospect, you guys created him in obviously the number one pick, the guy who has a big college career, but what is it about his experience in the world that you guys felt good that he was got to take that step to the NFL level and maybe help him with the as well? And with the league, why guys that come from Oklahoma, why is it that you see those guys
I didn't catch the last part of your question. I'm sorry.
As far as Baker, Kyler, Jalen Hurts, guys that have come out of Oklahoma, why do you think maybe some of those guys are having success?
Yeah, no, I think, all those guys that you mentioned were highly productive players at, the highest level of competition in college football. Obviously Coach Riley did a fantastic job in terms of developing that position at Oklahoma. And all those guys, they're unique, right, in terms of their skill set. But I think they were comfortable in their own skin, knew who they were, and ultimately used their strengths to produce at the NFL level. So I think that's actually a pretty good example that, quarterbacks, they come in all different shapes and sizes, right? And they have different skill sets. And So it's not a cookie cutter approach.
Do you expect Jason Carter to be back at the Browns?
Yeah, like I said, Jason, for all of these, situations on our roster, we worked through them over the next couple of weeks. JC's been a real productive veteran for us. He's been, a starter since 2017 for us, and played a lot of really good football. We expect him to continue to play some really good football. So. Yeah, I don't know that the process changes significantly, because largely you're going to vet the entire draft class, because as much as we like to think that we can predict how the outcomes are going to happen at the top of the draft, the reality is, like, we all are guessing. We're making educated guesses. So, the importance of being prepared and being flexible and being able to pivot doesn't change whether you have, 1 first-round pick or 3 first-round picks. I think if you are in a situation where you have multiple, really the thought and preparation before the draft comes in terms of strategy, right? Whether you're going to select a player, whether you're going to turn, one of those draft assets into multiple draft assets, and ultimately, like, how you may move up or down the board. So I think that's probably where more of the time is spent, based on the players who will probably be available in the range that you would pick high, as opposed to the actual individual preparation regarding the current prospects. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, look, I think, you look, Myles Garrett is one of the best players in football. David Njoku has played really good football for us over the past 5 years. Obviously Jabril is no longer with us, but has turned into a productive pro. And that draft also produced an additional first-round pick. So if you look in the totality of it, I think it's something that helped move the roster forward for sure.
Receiver and defensive line are 2 positions that you don't have a lot of players in the contract. Are those the top priorities for you, the roster?
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're necessarily a top priority, Tony. Obviously, we have to get more players under contract in both of those spots, needless to say. Ultimately, we're going to prioritize opportunity, and I think there are a number of ways to assemble the team or construct the roster that ultimately allows you to reach your goal of winning games. So, we'll take the next couple weeks and like I said, try and map our resources to opportunities.
Andrew, how do you view?
The NFL started requiring the Wonder Like test this year. I'm wondering what you ever thought of it, if you factored it highly into the evaluation, or what you thought of that direct assessment. Is there any other direct assessments that you're going to start using instead of it, or that you've always preferred? What's the process?
Yeah, quite honestly, we thought the Wonderlic was outdated. That's not something that really held a lot of weight for us. There are other cognitive measures that we use. I wouldn't necessarily go into detail with what those are in this setting.
The question I was going to ask, when you look at your receiver room, how do you want that to alter? Body type, facility, is there a vision you have for that room?
As many good players as possible.
We'll take one more question. Hey, Andrew, every time
Last question.
you said you want to go back, you love it. You said you guys have been talking to his agents. Where do things stand? And then if you can't get something done, do you consider him a potential franchise tag candidate?
Yeah, it's a good question, Nate. I think you know me well enough that those business considerations I'll keep pretty close to the vest and in-house. Any discussions that we have with players or agents, those remain confidential.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gang.
You're up. Andrew Barry at the podium just now at the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. I believe we had that.
We told you drink more Ovaltine. That's what you got out of that.
Yeah,
drink more Ovaltine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so adept at. I mean, he was asked a question directly about Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and praised. It's nice to see Ohio State players doing well, and there are a lot of players at a lot of positions we're excited to see here at the Combine. I mean, you're just not. It's just not what he's going to give you, and that's fine. I mean, that is the way that he's going to operate. It's not new. It should not come as a surprise. He is not going to. Everything will be kept in house. We're not going to talk to you about who we're thinking of keeping or not keeping. He said he's been in communication with Baker. As far as news goes, I would say that's he had spoken with Baker and that he was groggy immediately after his surgery. That's it in terms of news.
Yeah.
And he said and echoed what I had said earlier about Conklin, that I had a schedule and looking good and that was it.
I was going to take notes.
I didn't. Continuity
going
is
to.
good. Every year is we treat ourselves like an expansion team, and we will pursue opportunity.
So, you and I will have a chance to talk to him probably tomorrow. We'll have that for you on the program. And so when, if people say, well, why didn't you ask this or ask that? That's why. Because it's not interesting what you're getting there. You're not getting – there's nothing there. So we will have – when you and I sit down and talk, we'll ask him the pertinent questions. We're also going to have a more organic conversation, try to get inside the man's mind a little bit about how he goes about his processes.
Sure.
That's really the best you're going to get out of it, because he is Dikembe Mutombo.
No, not happening.
Not having it. Absolutely not having it. We will see if there is anything else to weed through with this. Go ahead.
His press conference right there is what I imagine would have happened if Gibbe really did track down Dan
Marino.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Who are you?
What?
Like the idea, like in the middle of his bite of soup.
Sir.
Can you imagine? I'm taking care of this. I got your whole table. Now you do me a favor. You come on my radio show.
That was his plan. That was his. That actually was. I mean, he laid out for you. That was the plan. I'm going to buy a bunch of people from the Dolphins who are going to expense their team lunch, because there was all Dolphins people.
All Dolphins
people. I'm going to buy that.
Yeah.
And then Dan's going to come on Browns Daily, and we're going to talk about just to have him on, because he's cool. He is cool.
He's very cool. Very, very cool.
The cool.
Oh, my goodness. Some stuff starting to trickle out here at the NFL Combine. We will keep you up to date on where we stand on all of that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
answer. No beyond the real business machine, preferred capital provider of Cleveland Browns, where the X's and O's to your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit AvailBusinessMachines.com. How you doing, Gilbert? Great. Hey, you're up. You're good. Oh, God. No, that's... Well, you're good.
Everything's great. Good. Couldn't be
Did
better.
I get the levels back
I'm
the way you
going
needed
to
them?
go find Dan Marino this week.
I know. I love it.
I'm going to
talk
lurk on Dan Marino
Don't we-
like the world is ending.
I can't wait. That's
can't
all
wait.
I want.
I just
I want you to walk
I,
him over
I just
here.
I want the look on your face
No,
on the stream when
my
I
God.
walk Dan Marino over and sit him down here.
I'll give you a standing ovation if you do that. What I'm hoping tonight is that Dan Marino somehow is also eating at Nada, and then you can just go over there while we were eating tacos and having a few sippers, and I get to watch you go over there, offer to pay for his entire table, and then
Well, I'm
convince
not
him to
going
come
to do
on
that
Browns
right
Daily.
now at dinner, but like
Oh,
at
but a
lunch,
But a lunch.
But
you
a
would've.
lunch.
there's
At
no
lunch you
alcohol.
Well, you could say
Come on,
I'll cover the
common
food.
sense.
I'll cover the food, Dan. We're not going crazy.
Well,
here.
I'd go over. I'd buy him a drink. Can I buy you a drink? I'd like to buy one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL
have a
history a
drink.
cocktail.
I love this. I never knew that you
never
were the
knew it.
acting president of the DMFC.
Yeah.
I'm just
Who do you
like
think? Who?
the guy's here.
No, I agree. I'm sure
mean,
he
yeah.
likes nothing more. Than
If Montana was here, I would have talked to him.
Oh, all right. Well,
Is he in the mix?
I don't believe he's in the mix.
Who is Marino is clearly the greatest quarterback who's going to be here this week, walking around, right?
Is Elway going to be here?
Who there would be one? Who is you Elway over Marino?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
that's a tight
That's,
conversation.
I refuse. Not happening.
You go with the two chippers, and that's
I think
that's,
so.
That's
I
it.
think so.
Even though
From a
There-
talent
There's two
standpoint,
people I'm
he's-
willing to fight. Pete Carroll and him.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
It feels to me
What if
like
we
you're
brought-
also willing to fight the LeBron James.
yeah,
I mean,
if we brought Elway over here and Gibbe started to fight him, that's enough.
So you're
I'll be
saying, hold
damned.
on, let me ask you a question.
I'll be damned if you're going to be on Cleveland Browns.
John
Yeah,
Elway.
that guy will not be.
John Elway offers to come over and do Browns Daily for free.
Yep.
Yep.
You say no,
I will pick up the tab for Dan Marino.
but you'll buy drinks for Dan Marino to get him on Browns Daily. Okay.
That man ruined my childhood. No.
No. I like
Oh,
it.
man.
I like it. You're a man with
There
great
is-
conviction.
Yeah.
If you are a Browns fan,
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it didn't go very well for him once he advanced to those two Super Bowls.
Yeah.
true. And he probably
Those are pretty lopsided Super
There's
Bowls.
an
if
argument
memory
that maybe
serves.
he saved us a little bit.
Well, you want
You
you
know.
want to take the chance at it, I suppose. Look, we'll talk to AB, and we'll have it tomorrow on the show. He just got done.
Yeah.
You try. He's just impervious to questioning, and in terms of getting, a whole lot out of it, in terms of information, and it's all strategic. His view of this is that the less anybody knows about my plans, the better. And in 2 off seasons, I think you got to give him benefit of the doubt because he's crushed it, and he's crushed it quick both years, guys. When you think about it, like right at the start of free agency, on it, address his needs, lock him up. That's the way he's been. So he's got a plan. He's got a process. We'll ask him about that. What is his plan and process? When did it start? How does he line up how he's going to handle free agency? I mean, I think that's, how's he line up how he's going to handle re-signing his own guys? I think that's interesting. What goes through his head.
The best one was the Wonderlic question. We don't
We don't
put
put
a lot of stock in that.
Yeah.
By the way, a little news from Adam Schefter.
Okay.
49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to soon undergo shoulder surgery that would
Oh,
sideline
wow.
him until the summer. Sources tell ESPN it is not expected to impact his trade status, and Garoppolo still is likely to be traded this month per sources. So he played through, obviously, quite a bit.
There's Quasey.
Quasey. There he is. Oh, remember this?
I ran into
Nothing?
Mr. Gregson yesterday.
Can we get a wave? Can we get a wave?
I think if we got a look, we might
we
get
got
a
a look?
wave. We might get a look. I don't know.
Oh, here's your opportunity.
Oh, there he
Hey!
is.
There he is.
There he is, our guy coming over.
Look at this. Look at this.
Look at him.
the quarter zip.
Look at
This
him.
is a fantastic.
Don't worry about it. You can't get through. You got
You
big
can't get
things to
through.
do. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
How you doing?
Good. That's good.
First presser in the books. Well, for here. Combine, yes. You can be as loud as you want to be. That's part of your part of the charm. And he came in and he followed. Did he warm up the crowd? Yeah, good. Beautiful. Beautiful. Good seeing you. The great Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, general manager of the Minnesota Vikings with an entourage.
Well, he's got a whole bunch of people
crew,
with him there,
some
yeah.
documentarians.
Well, I'm assuming our guy's coming here.
Some documentarians over
I
there.
see all of our guys.
By the way,
back.
this
is a nice outfit he's in.
Just gonna
Can
say.
I just say,
crisp.
Okay, so it's a gray pant. It's a white.
So you
Vikings
know what I want?
quarter zip, and it looked like it looked like the Viking was gray.
It looked kind of like whited out, right? It was kind of
Yeah.
almost like white on white, like the outline.
I like it.
You know what I'd love is
Talk to me.
a white.
Sure.
With nothing but like that, the same way that
same
is
cut,
colored.
everything.
So everything about the same, with just kind of like a muted brownie.
Oh my gosh, how decadent! Now, what do you think is the uniform? What do you think is the supplier on that garment?
I believe it looked like a Nike.
Is that a Nike garment?
Because if it is, that means we got the chance. It could be in the mix.
Means it's out there.
It could be in the mix. Kwesi, what a guy! He wanted to come walk through here.
He wanted to come in and
come hang out,
dap it up
on
and talk.
CBD. I know, and it was the barriers.
Yeah, the barriers are keeping
I thought
him out.
Keith
Such
was
a
maybe going
luminary.
to pull off a feat of strength. As he's a big burly man. I thought he was
open
separate
it up
the
and get him in.
steel. Yeah, and get him right on in here.
Boy, it's got a nice flow to it, doesn't it? That top. I really
No.
like the look of that thing.
It's an elite.
Gosh Almighty!
It's an elite.
Senior
top.
swag would wear that around. I mean that.
We need some of those quarter zips.
I like that.
We need that quarter.
That's strong.
That's an elite. Elite. Yes.
Yeah. That's
no, it
very
is elite.
good.
I
So
didn't
it's
see a
it's
swoosh though.
I'm glad you got his attention because I was looking for a swoosh and I did not see one. That might
No.
be an in-house job.
And by the way, it's a beaut. They
Yeah.
should be quite proud. Is he coming? Is he making his way? Starkey's telling us. The great Matt Starkey, toughest photog in the NFL. Don't believe me? Ask Justin Simmons.
Yeah, we were looking for the branding on that. That was the key to
working.
all of that. We couldn't see it. Yeah.
I mean, it was stunning.
Yeah, it was a good
Listen,
look.
last time we asked.
Gibby, as the head honcho, what would you like us to do here now?
Yeah.
Tremendous question.
How do you dial this up?
currently.
How do you dial this up?
Dial this
Where's
up.
Dan Marino when you need him?
That's right. Where is Dan? My God, laces out, Dan.
This is time for Dan.
Is that Dan Marino on Brown Staley? Yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
What's he doing there? I don't know. Who knows?
Give a bottom up bowl of soup.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's absolutely great. What do you think? I mean, he's not imminent, is he?
I don't know.
We don't want him to,
By the way,
run towards the end of the line here.
how wild is it that Garoppolo not only had a finger injury on his throwing hand,
Yeah.
also had a shoulder injury
I would just keep going.
with the 49ers
And then we'll wrap
this
the
year.
show. Nick, we're going to wrap the show potentially a little early. Have Emmett and Gerard ready to go
Oh.
early?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're getting a production of the show on air. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean,
Something we gotta do.
that's where I'm at.
That's where we're at. Okay, so
we
we'll
have
just
two
take
breaks
this to, like,
left. We'll take
52.
it. Yeah, we'll take
it to 52.
Yeah, if we can
and
get
then-
it to 50.
Oh, yeah, we can get it to hey, safe. This is from Jason Hoover.
Yeah.
He said, if John Elway comes on, I'm turning off the radio
Maybe.
because I'm 42 years old and he ruined my childhood.
All right, Gibby. What are we doing now?
Maybe I'm not.
What are we doing now, Gibby?
The man is
Maybe.
man is coming in
Maybe.
right now. Hold on.
doing, brother?
Let me
Good to see you, man.
let me work
How you
on
doing,
something
AB?
here.
Mr.
All right.
PJB.
Get those set up. Good to see. Yep.
Hold on.
Well, do you want
So-
to take a quick break?
Yeah,
we tell-
Nick,
let's
let's take
take
a quick break.
break.
Let's let Dan
and then-
Marino know that we're out of time. Andrew
Yeah,
Barry is here.
Andrew Barry's here. So we'll
Yeah,
talk to AB
that's
after
right.
this quick timeout. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Nick, do me a favor. Throw in like 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes to finish this up here.
car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused your injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And we finish the show in style with the boss, Andrew Berry, our general manager, here with us. Did you miss this? We're all back. We're all excited. We're good to be back. This is the last thing, AB, we did before pandemic, and then it hit the next week. Everything got shut down, and now we're back in full force. Did you miss it?
I did. It's great to be back in Indianapolis and have the in-person interaction. Certainly meet with prospects, spend some time with you guys, meet up with old colleagues from other teams. And then Indianapolis always has a little bit of a soft spot in my heart just because I was here lived here for 6 years. So I've got a trip out to my favorite burger spot at some point this week.
Can you share?
Yeah, what's Bub's Burgers and Ice Cream up in Carmel, Indiana, home of the Big Ugly.
The Big Ugly.
Yeah.
I like that. Sounds like it's delicious.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. Yeah, because we usually we stay in this corridor, but I may have to go out.
We're only Bird. If a bird can get us there,
that's right.
That's it. We can only go where a bird can take us. At what point in your life did you realize that you possessed an elite gift of holding court and taking question after question and making them feel good, making everybody feel like you're participating, but not giving them anything? When did you know that you were absolutely elite at this?
I think it's more what's the saying? It's better to say little or nothing as opposed to saying something and be thought a fool than say something and remove all doubt. So it's more that approach.
Well, it's a tricky thing, right, though, because you have everybody around. And this is I kind of said this, Nathan and I were talking off the top of the show, that this does feel like, and I know for you you've already been well into it, but it feels like, New York Stock Exchange ding ding. It feels like today is ding ding on the NFL offseason. Like business is open and here we go.
Yeah.
And your job is a critical one. It's a tough one. It's a tricky one. You got a lot of things you got to try and check off, and it starts now. And so in between all of that, hey, ask me anything you like. And it's just kind of an awkward thing.
No, it is. And I also think, just quite honestly, the reality of it is in very few off-season is it a linear straight path in terms of, hey, this is what X team is going to do to either address the needs or how they're going to try and assemble the team. Really, every year that I've been a part of in the NFL, whether it's in this position or another, it's really about contingencies because, part of it is that market forces, whether it's in the draft or free agency or the trade market, that'll be able to dictate what you can do based on your priorities and the resources that you have at your disposal. So, sometimes it is a little bit of like, hey, we've really got to see how the start of the league year progresses before we're going to make a significant decision at a particular spot. Yeah.
When you think about year one, it felt, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, but it felt like the priority was let's get the pieces in place on the offensive line, let's get the tight ends, let's get a fullback where we can run the offense that Kevin Stefanski wants the way he wants to run it. Mission accomplished. Year two, it felt like we need to put a lot of assets on the defensive side of the ball to match this defense with where we thought our offense would be. Mission accomplished. How do you go about formulating? Because I'm not expecting you to say, hey, this is what our priority is for year three. I think we can probably all figure out, generally speaking, where it is. But how do you go about kind of formulating that plan and then taking, okay, here's the idea. We want to improve our passing game and formulating that into an action plan combining the draft and free agency?
Yeah, so number one, I think it's accurate to say that was the general approach for the first two off seasons. Very rarely do you enter off seasons where maybe the focus is that clear, and I would say that's probably where this offseason is a little bit different, where things probably are a little bit more muddled and largely dependent on the opportunities that present themselves. In the first, or I should say, in the next few weeks. But in terms of like formulating the plan, that's really what we spend a large part of January and the first half of February doing, both. Assessing our own roster, assessing our own organization, really matching our free agency evaluations to our market planning, exploring the trade market, and then obviously in February we have a really robust set of draft meetings. So at this point it's getting more information on the draft class. Obviously spending some time with our own guys, and then once the negotiating window opens at the start or before the start of the league year and into the league year, that's really when all the pro work kicks off.
We were in studio last couple of weeks, and we all of a sudden we would see all these people that we haven't seen in forever, and we're like, oh my God, that's right. Our football staff is huge.
They're back.
Everybody's back.
It is big.
Here's all of our guys coming back. Is it fun for you to? Because these are people who were. They're out, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the job to get them all back to
Yeah.
get that brain trust together and get working.
It's special, especially the past 2 years when those interactions have been a bit more limited in the pandemic, and that group of individuals, they work so hard and do a lot of fantastic work for us, and you only get so many times where you're all together. Obviously, the combine is one of them. February draft meetings, April draft meetings, 2 more in training camp, and the past couple seasons we've lost anywhere from 2 to 4 of those touch points. So to come back here when everybody's in town together has been great.
When you go through, you made a statement, and I think you've been consistent in saying that going into off seasons, we approach every season like we're an expansion team. Mm-hmm. Flesh that out for me. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, so I think there's maybe a thought that, and maybe some teams do this, that you go into an off season and you say, hey, look, here are the areas that, here are the things that we didn't quite do well last year, or here are the areas where we don't have guys under contract. We're just going to be laser focused on those, and that's the only thing that we're going to research or do. The reality is some of like our best transactions, our best moves, have been opportunities that we didn't know would become available to us at this point in the calendar year. So flexibility is key when I talk about mapping resources to opportunity.
Sure.
Because very rarely does it go according to your plan A. And the reality is, like, you're competing against 31 other teams. So even if it's like, hey, look, I want to sign or draft or trade for this player, it's just never usually that clean. And so if your plan A is unavailable, not just at that position, you could be in a position where it's like, all right, well, we wanted to address this specific area. The players that would enable us to do that aren't available. Okay, how do we actually pivot so we can assemble a team where maybe we can't improve or be quite as strong in this area, but we can still reach our desired goal of being a better football team and more competitive?
So one opportunity that springs to mind from last year is obviously Jadeveon Clowney, and it's somebody that had been kind of like a white whale for you, right? You'd been on the hunt for him for a long time, and I remember speaking to him the day that we signed him, and it was your individual pursuit and commitment that made him feel that love. And now he comes here. He has 9 sacks, the most that he's had since he was with the Texans. 4, by the way, at the end. They had a nice incentive for him. Maybe we'll space those incentives out throughout the 16-game or 17-game now season. Nonetheless, but, does that personal relationship, is that something that you enjoy in terms of doing some of the recruiting yourself? And do you feel that line of communication between you and Jadeveon still exists, and that there is some stock that was built through that union and the success?
Yeah, it is something. I think one of the things I talked about maybe a little over 2 years ago is, one of the things I learned from Howie is how important it is to develop personal relationships with your locker room, because at the end of the day, we're all dealing with people.
Yep.
And it makes it easier. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier when you have the more difficult conversations. To Jadeveon in particular, yes, we still have a good relationship and everything. Now that doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to re-sign him or anything along those lines. But what I've learned throughout my time in the NFL is a lot of those relationships you build, they go beyond the player's affiliation with the team. Like, I was thinking we were down at the Senior Bowl, and one of the tackles that we drafted in the second round, my very first draft in the NFL, is now looking to get into scouting, for instance, and that's like a relationship that we kept. Or Anthony Fabiano, who's was with me in Philly, was with me in Cleveland, that type
on
of
our
thing.
playoff roster,
right. And and so you just never know how your paths will cross with individuals as you move forward.
AB, I heard you in the presser there. They were asking you, the communication with Baker. Just share for us, if you could, the conversations you've had with him. How's he feeling? How'd the surgery go? Is he on track, ahead of schedule? Nathan runs into Jack all the time, so we know he's ahead of schedule, and that was a nice thing to get that redone. But with Baker, what are you hearing in terms of his health and the prognosis?
Yeah, he's worked really hard, post surgery, and he's he's on a good path. He's on a good track. Which really isn't a surprise to us because we know how much he cares about it. So That's all really positive at this point. Still got a little ways to go, but we're encouraged with where he is currently.
From a philosophical standpoint, when you look at the league and some of the trends in the league, and I know you guys are doing so many studies, and we had Depot on and talking about, looking at, do you want a dominant number one? Do you want multiple really good receivers and all that kind of stuff? And, when you look at our roster, one of the things that is a clear strength on our roster is the running back position. And you got Nick Chubb under contract, you got Kareem under contract, and then you've got a guy in Dearness Johnson who stepped in at a time when you needed him and put together 2 unbelievable games. How do you kind of, in your mind, because you probably would think when people would say, oh, analytics, you probably wouldn't have the strongest running back room in the league, and yet because of great drafting with a guy like Nick Chubb and an opportunity with Kareem and a discovery of Dearness, the potential is there for it to be that way for a while. How do you kind of reconcile that with what you see as the trends in the league and then your desire to reward guys who do the right thing but also position the team best for success?
Yeah, I think it goes, and maybe I'll say it a little better this time around. I think it's important to have a primary plan and a pretty strong philosophy, but I also think that you can't be so dogmatic that you can't be able to be flexible and pivot for opportunities that become available that allow you to improve the team.
Last one. Can you get us some of those white quarter sips Quasey was wearing?
With
we
the
worked that
elf,
out.
we've
with the
designed
elf.
it. We just designed it.
Did you see that, AB?
No, he looked sharp.
Woo!
He looked sharp. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey,
I do know a guy though, so we'll see what he guys.
By the way, let's not forget the guy picking 12th. When we pick 13th, I mean,
there's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack.
We already took care of that.
We talked to him directly.
We talked to him directly. You don't have to worry about him.
Yes.
Good talking to you, man. Have a good week. Great talking to you.
AB,
Andrew
thank you
Berry, general manager here at the Cleveland Browns. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.